International friends, today we will only have an English translation about a very important seal. First of all, we have to state a few things. The seal is this one, CMS Volume 1, Artifact number 1, but there is something very important, so we will have to talk about these seals first. The datation is crazy. It was about 5800 BC to 5300 BC. Even to imagine such a thing is quite crazy, and this is maybe the point that we have to methodologically clarify some things. First of all, we set today's video on the table of the discussion not as a hypothesis, but as a full hypothesis, but rather as a topic that can be relatively modified in its details. But on the other hand, we have some archaeological facts. We don't interpret them. CMS did that for us. They came to this datation for us. We have to see them first. Okay. Mynon, not Mynon. This was found in Sesklo. You can see the similarities, they are striking similarities, right? And Sesklo is somewhere near Volos. Let's say there was some kind of a palace, or more or less an edifice, and in there were found many seals. So this was in Sesklo. Then again, Mynon, it looks like the labyrinth, okay. Mynon, not Mynon. Sesklo again. And then we have this. It was a seal, it's perforated here, and they would seal things, and when the archaeologists made the imprint, they end up here. To read it is a very easy job, but first we have to say some things. You might say, alright, you're saying that like 5800 BC or 5300 BC, the script was the same. Here comes a German answer, Jein. It's both ja and nein together, yes and no. The graphemes are the same. Just like our Greek alphabet has been, the capital letters, more or less has been the same for thousands of years, but what changes through the course of time is the way you pronounce them. Sometimes there is evolution. So if we say that it's 100% the same as the Mynon language we usually read, then that would be maybe that would sound more beautiful to your ear, but it wouldn't be very clear when you go by the book of linguistics, and which states that no language, no speech can remain the same over such a long period of time. But yes, you can read them, and then we will see some phonetic peculiarities that have to be explained. So maybe you will see, let's say, a story now, the Indo-Europeanists, and they're, as you know, they're in the chase for a phantom people, a very old people, population that started it, started all, and they are reconstructing roots. Personally, I believe that these reconstructions are not very accurate, so more or less you get a Lithuanian word, you get a German, you get a Greek, you get an Indian, you mix them together, and then more or less it sounds, you end up in a root with a big star before it, and you say that it must have been so. Of course, you can't pronounce these things. They're quite amusing on this way. But sometimes the reconstruction can help us, and sometimes it can help us trace back things with safety. But not always, and certainly not as often as the Indo-Europeanists claim that it happens. So why are we saying this? The text consists of 4 words. Very quickly, the reading: zu, right? Ve, it goes like an S, right? Ko, because it's like a sphere, but it has a tail here, right? I'm sorry, I just coughed. So it's, as I said, zu, ve, ko. You see this form here, it's like a sphere, but it still has an edge. Tu, you can see that. It is like a half moon, but there is still a line, this line, right? This is a half moon, me. This is another zu or stu. This is another me, and then stu. I'm sorry. This is not a me. This is a ra. This is a ra because it forms almost a 90-degree angle. Ra. This is a yo. It's perfectly straight, and then another angle, ra again. All right. Maybe the equilibrium sometimes is very fine and very delicate, but you eventually can find the answer if you look at it long enough. So, 4 words: zove, kotu, mezu, laiora. You couldn't have imagined that this can be a Greek language. First of all, zove, it's like to leave, but how do you end up here? From zo. How do you end up in zove? Here we have 2 problems. The first is z. Z, Lord Chadwick had said once that this z in the syllabic script was ts before. It was not, it was a tsu. That connects this theory with the German language too, but let's not get to this one too. We know that it has been stu in the Minoan years, and the evolution of language from classical Greek grammar, you can see it as SD. All these things can lead to zu. For this SD, it's very common in classical Greek and Attic grammar. No need to talk about this, we will speed things up. So it's z with an y or zo with an omega. No way to tell that, but in both ways you can reconstruct it. And then ve, maybe not a vita, but what we can say as a digamma, or something that was there before digamma, and eventually it got more and more light when it comes to the pronunciation, and in the end ended up maybe also in Homer as a very light u, like semi a semi-consonant, something between a consonant and a vocal, and in the end it was nowhere to find. Of course, we're talking about a big progress, because remember, from 5,800 or 5,300 to the age of Homer, there is a very big gap indeed, and up to the age where Digama is nowhere to be heard again, that's another chaos between. But Zove, let's come to this omega again, about this Zove. Zo, instead of Zao, Tho, Gvyoyo, or whatever you can say it in the Indo-European root, Zio with a yot instead of this digama here, which ends up in Zo. Zoos, Dorian zoos with an omicron, zoon, the animal or the living thing, zoe, life, etc., etc. So, leave. Then, what's the second thing? That's another verb. Kotu. Alright, and before we come to the second word, kotu, I would like to tell you something more about this. You say that in Hoffman's etymologic lexicon, zin, right? With z, with a yot again, gvye, or something like that in Indo-European, they will use these peculiar phonetic transcripts all the time. Zio and zo. And what is interesting in this reconstruction is exactly this highlighted, if you can notice it, this U. This U that ends up sometimes as a full V, or sometimes as let's say lighter forms, even vocal sometimes. Okay, now kotu, the second verb. There is a verb, no problem with that, to trace it down. Koteo or koteome. It's usually the middle, let's say, form. That's where koteondo as a past continuous form comes. Orgizome, I have wrath. Kakyono, I'm bitter on someone, but kotis again, or kotos, which is the wrath, but back then it could signify, and many times it does, because the verb also means to dare. It has survived up to now, and it means to dare, also to dare sometimes. It means to be brave or to be strong. Not only daring, but also strong enough. Now, mezu, another problem. Now, we will go to the linear B script and use this citation from Hooker's book, Introduction to Linear B. Hooker, this Greek edition, you can see it here. Meso, meson, or mesos. Okay, mesoe and mesoes. What's all this? The comparative form of megas, the big. So, but this is a verb, become bigger. Bigger in what sense? Just like in Homeric Greek, just like in Minoan Greek, just like today, big does not only have the sense of a size, but also has the sense of a reputation, the sense of power, political power, and so on and so on. So live long, be strong, be ever growing, ever more powerful. And now comes the hardest part. There is no definitive answer, but there is a good orientation. This la yora. But let's break it. Let's see the la first. Alright. Laos, the people. No problem until here. Laos, unknown etymology. With Stamatakos says he doesn't know where that comes. All right. Then Dorian forms, Laiton, the archive, Laiton of the public places. You see, it has many meanings, not only just the people, right? Because the people in the subconscious of these proto-Greeks are connected indigenously with the land. So this word doesn't only have the meaning of the people and the familiar meanings, but it also has the meaning of the land, of the place that is being inhabited by some people. Right? Liturgi, the ones who orgo, they work for the people or the land. Dimiurgi, the ones who create for the people, and so on and so on. The problem doesn't come with this root, the problem comes with this iora. Now there are some interpretations that could be possible. First of all, ora, Ionian form ori, alright, cura in Latin, to cure in the ancient Latin sense means to take care. Care comes from cura again, or ora again. So if you put it together, the one who cares for the people, who takes care of the people, or ora, hora in Latin, a specified time. Maybe again, who knows? But oreos, the one who is just in the correct time produced, and this means maybe the perfect one, right? So the most perfect person in the people, which is the leader, or the one who is just being in his best time, which means it's his youth, the one who has full power, bodily and political of course. So more or less it means the best man that can be found in the people. And of course this is let's say a way to say good words for the leader back then. So very quickly, live, be even more strong, become even more big, oh you who takes care of your people. This is it. It is crazy, I know, it sounds crazy, but if you see the archaeological datation, it's hard to go against it. We place it on the table, it seems that these Proto-Greeks were a very ancient people with many dialects, of course, because they had a big diaspora with many peculiarities. But it also seems to us that the language we're looking for as the mother language is not a pile of arbitrarily reconstructed roots, but instead a language that has written tokens from a very early age, and this is none other than the Greek language. A Greek language that went through a lot. It doesn't sound like Greek, not at all, because it evolved. The Greek language, and the line has never broken, so the evolution is huge, especially if you get this age, I mean the earliest possible, 5,800 years BC until 2022, and who knows, you can imagine that the evolution is chaotic. You cannot demand that what you see being read is what you have learned as ancient Greek in high school. But on the other side, you have to demand that in order to accept it as Greek, it responds to the grammar, and to the Greek grammar first, and second to the laws of linguistics. It does both. It does both. We already used dictionaries of other people written maybe more than half a century. Some of them have been written more than half a century ago, and they supposed, sometimes they got a bingo, that these things must have existed. Well, it's our happy, lucky day. We bumped on them. And I would like to thank our kind photographer, Themis. And until next time, I wish you all the best.